On today's show, Kawhi Leonard with a rough game, but ends with a game winner at the buzzer at the Intuit Dome in overtime. His first buzzer-beating game winner as an LA Clipper and his third game winner overall. Gonna be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers. Yep.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA. And in my 20th season as a Clipper fan, you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dime Dropper Pod. Been covering the Clippers for 5 years on my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, and 3 years right here on Locked On Clippers. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Head on over to FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. But ladies and gentlemen, we got a special game to talk about in this one. Kawhi Leonard, game winner. How about that? I wish I could have been there, but I was too busy getting this chip, baby. How about that? In my rec league bubble, we ended up getting it done. I missed both games this weekend as a result of those playoff games, and I'm very proud of my boys, man. Very proud of my boys. Nice with a lot of them losing their houses in the Palisades fire. The Palisades Rec League was able to continue in Venice, so I was happy to get that done. But thank God we won because I missed an amazing game. Kawhi Leonard game winner. Going to be talking about that. Going to be talking about the performance of James Harden to even get us in the position to be in that spot to win the game. And then another double-double for Ivica Zubac and the story of the game. But let's begin with Kawhi Watch right away. This was a rough Kawhi Watch. This was a game which Tyronn Lue, our head coach, had a bad back. And by the way, Locked On Clippers newsletter at lockedondaily.com. Forgot to mention that. I write it every day. Head on over to lockedondaily.com for more to sign up. But with Kawhi, he was not looking great. And this was a game without Ty Lue, who was out with a bad back. So get well soon, coach. No Domantas Sabonis or Malik Monk. And of course, Norman Powell and Ben Simmons are still out. The Kings, heading into this game, were 5-1 in their last 6 games. But let's just fast forward to the end for a sec. Overtime game, Kawhi Leonard is having a real struggle from the field throughout the night. And he was at one point, he ended 7 for 19, so that wasn't great. At one point, he was 4 for 14. Felt like nothing was going his way. Had that and one that was part of our 7-0 run to tie the game at 97 to go into overtime. And it was a really tough shot. But it feels like for me, he's not getting much elevation on his shots. You know, everything is short. And I've always said that Kawhi Leonard, when he misses shots, they're almost always going to be short, rarely long. But it's been a lot of short. It's been a lot of no lift and not much, burst. Although he did have one play where he had his first, for me, blow by of the season one-on-one against Keegan Murray, where he fully got around him. It wasn't like an ISO at the top of the key, but he caught the ball. Keegan Murray was pressuring him high, and he just turned the corner to his right and scored. But that last shot, I think it says a lot for Brian Shaw to go to Kawhi. And Jim Jackson made that same point. To go to Kawhi when he was shooting so badly, and James Harden was doing so well. He had just hit the floater to put us up by 1. I was shocked that we didn't go to him and we went with Kawhi instead. But again, that is my point. This is Kawhi's franchise. James Harden's been the leader of this team this year, but it's been Kawhi's franchise. And as far as this game goes, that shot was ridiculous. Ridiculous. Left hand, the degree of difficulty and skill that you have to have, the degree of difficulty of the shot and the skill you have to make it is quite amazing, especially with 4 or 5 NBA bodies around you. But one thing that I think is so interesting and I completely disagree with is, why do teams, when they're down by 1, nowadays sometimes wait till the end? I understand the premise of okay, leave them no time on the clock, but you're down. So if you miss, it's over. Whereas if you miss with some time, I guess the thought process is we'd rather wait for a good shot and take up the whole clock and just live with the loss than take a rush shot that's not great and then have to foul and then potentially take, a three. But it gives you two chances. I don't know. I think you just don't have to completely rush the first shot. I disagree with that strategy because to me, it's like you're not going hard enough to win games with that strategy. It's too risky, in my opinion. Of course, when it's a tie game, you wait till the last shot. But Kawhi took the risk, or our team took the risk because I don't know if Kawhi was told, to wait till the end or go whenever you want or whatever. But he did a great job turning away from, he was trying to get to his right hand, was cut off, turned away, and he threw it up and got the friendly bounce. So even after a terrible shooting game, Kawhi Leonard hits the game winner. If you're wondering what his other game winners were, well, this was the first one that was actually at the buzzer, but he had one against the Houston Rockets, his first year here in LA. It just wasn't with under 10 seconds left, so people don't really remember it. It was an ESPN game right here in Los Angeles. And then we had the return against the Charlotte Hornets in 2023. That was my first year as host of this show, and he hit that game winner with, I believe, a second left on the clock against Charlotte in Charlotte. So this is his third game winner as a Clipper. Pretty sure Paul George had 3 as well. Reggie Jackson may have 3 as well. So nice to see that they're all in that same ballpark. But overall, my takeaway here is that Kawhi Leonard, while he did make the game-winning shot, still doesn't look great. 17 points in this game for him, so he did not score 20, and he's 20 or more, and he played 40 minutes. 17 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 2 turnovers on 7 for 19 shooting, and 1 for 7 from 3. I thought his defense was pretty good. I thought our team as a whole defensively was very good. But in terms of Kawhi, he's been shooting really poorly from 3 in particular this month. And his shout out to LA Clippers Film, Justin on Twitter. He pointed this out. The paint non-rim field goal attempts. He's shooting, the league average is 44%. He's shooting about 39%. So those little floaters he takes inside the key, they're not inside the restricted area, essentially. Those floaters, those push shots, those short mid-range jumpers where he's usually money, he has not been quite there this season. And you've got to expect that to go back to, what we're used to seeing. But he isn't getting this much elevation. I mean, not to say he was getting a ton of elevation in 2024, 2023, either of those 2 years, or maybe even 2021. 2021, I'd say he had a little more elevation on his shot and a little more burst than 2023 and 24. But it didn't really affect the percentages for the most of 2023 and 24. He still was scoring so well. He seems a little bit slower this season so far and doesn't have that same spring in his jump shot that he even had, as I mentioned. But those shots, you don't need to elevate so much. Those shots, he's still getting pretty clean looks. I feel like it's just a matter of time, honestly. But yeah, 17 points in this one for him. But he's shooting this month. He's shooting 6 for 26 from deep in this month, 23%. So not great. Because considering that was the thing that we were surprised at when he first came back. In the month of February, he shot 42.5% from 3. So we shall see. We shall see. I'd say the non-rim paint stuff I would keep an eye on. And then the 3-ball. But, it says a lot, though, that a guy that's shooting poorly can make the game-winning shot like that. That's the true sign of a great scorer for me. And it's an amazing shot that he made to win it 111-110 in overtime over the Sacramento Kings. And it was a big game given the standings. And it clinches the tiebreaker because we only played the Sacramento Kings 3 times this season. So we have won 2 out of those 3 games. And funny enough, I've missed both of them for reasons related to coaching. But it's good that we could get the win. It was actually my first time watching Zach LaVine in a Sacramento Kings jersey. And again, I usually watch more basketball on this. But again, given everything that's happened the last 2 months, I haven't had the time to watch anything outside of the Clippers and the Lakers, really. So he played really well. We had some trouble containing him. Coming up, though, I'm going to be talking more about James Harden and the way he kind of gave us the chance for Kawhi to do that because it wasn't really Kawhi's night, even though he made the game winner. It was James Harden's night yet again. I got to tell you a little something about DoorDash. Right now, they swoosh, you save with DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you can score a huge deal the next day. I did it when James Harden scored 50 and got a discount on my meal from DoorDash the next day. It's simple. When a guy in the NBA scores 50 or more points during the season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. So as I said, James Harden did it. I did it. I used it. Steph Curry had his game. I used it. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. All right, Clippers winning this one. 111-110 in overtime. An unfortunate absence from me in a game that I would have loved to be at. I mean, you don't see game winners all the time. I've been to almost 200 games. Maybe at this point has been 200. I have to keep a count. And you rarely see game-winning shots at the buzzer. You know, obviously my all-time favorite live. Chris, it wasn't at the buzzer, but CP3 against the Spurs, Game 7. One of the only Game 7 game winners in the history of basketball. It doesn't get much better than that. But great to see Kawhi Leonard have that moment and have the first game winner by a Clipper inside the wall. I mean, or in the Intuit Dome. How about that? Game winner by a Clipper inside the Intuit Dome. So, I mean, very, very, very impressive. Now, as far as James Harden, he was our guy. He truly was, and he has been in this 3-game homestand in which we went undefeated. We won all 3 of the games: Detroit, New York, and Sacramento. And it's in large part because of James Harden, who continues to be the playmaker, pick-and-roll maestro that he's always been. But his shot making has really been there these last 3 games, especially after those rough games against the Lakers that he had. I mean, I really don't have anything bad to say about James Harden in this game. I thought he was quicker with his decision making. I thought he was extremely clutch. His floater game was looking really good. He was getting by even the best of defenders like Keon Ellis, Keegan Murray, who are no slouches at all. I mean, I got to give it to him. I got to absolutely give it to him. He was awesome, in my opinion, the player of the game. 29 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists. As far as and on 10 for 19 shooting, the 3-ball wasn't really there, 3 for 11, but he was 7 for 8 from 2. 7 for 8 from 2, and a lot of that was that floater game. And one of them was to tie the game at 97 and to give us the lead before DeRozan was to hit those 2 free throws and Kawhi respond with the game winner. But as far as the matchups, they had Keon Ellis on James Harden, Keegan Murray on Kawhi Leonard, Jonas Valanciunas on Ivica Zubac, Zach LaVine on Nico Batum, and DeMar DeRozan on Chris Dunn. Jonas Valanciunas was actually showing on James Harden, so it allowed Ivica Zubac to get plenty of opportunities in that short roll, and he has become such a threat when he catches the ball in the middle of the floor, puts it on the ground and shoot, or he doesn't even put it on the ground, shoots that one-handed push shot from anywhere foul line and in. It feels like it's going in, and he does it. He has such great touch. And, you know, if you're a basketball player at any age, and this is something that I don't do enough. My co-coach, Will Johnson, always trolls me, but it's not trolling. He's actually being serious. When I shoot sometimes, he's like, get it up, meaning, you know, I'm not putting enough arc on my shot. Zoo does such a great job of putting arc on his floaters. You know what I'm saying? That's why he gets so many soft bounces. It's really amazing the way his touch has improved year by year. In this game, he actually didn't have, I'll talk about Zoo actually a little bit later more, but just to link up with James, you know, that's one thing I noticed in this game that I was thinking is we actually played through Kawhi a lot more. It felt like a Kawhi Leonard team. He took 19 shots. James took 19 shots, but James played 4 more minutes. But it felt like we were playing through Kawhi. And I can't say it looked very good. Playing through James and doing pick and rolls with Zoo looked better. Which poses the question. James Harden right now is the best player on the Clippers. Is that a concern, Clipper fans? Because if James Harden's our best player, we're likely a first-round exit, you know? That's not even a disrespectful thing to James Harden. He was not brought here to be our best player. James Harden running pick and rolls definitely seem more efficient right now than Kawhi Leonard ISOs. And Kawhi Leonard ISO was like our best action last year if you look at like the points per possession from my memory. I remember James Harden pick and rolls and James Harden ISOs and Kawhi Leonard ISOs were really high percentage for good looks, but I remember Kawhi Leonard had the highest points per possession in isolation in the league. That hasn't been anywhere close to the case so far this season. James Harden, on the other hand, it's not just that he's running pick and roll and he's making decisions. It's that Zubac is directly involved in that action as the screener and as the roller. And Zoo's been a top 3 player on the team this season. So you're involving 2 of our top 3 players on the team this season, with Norman Powell being one of the other 3, in the action directly, whereas when Kawhi gets the ball in isolation, it's stagnant, and teams are not fully throwing 2 on the ball with him because he hasn't gained that kind of respect again in isolation so far this season. So that's the question I'm posing. Is James Harden played amazing, 29 points, 1 rebound short of a triple-double, 9 rebounds, 11 assists, did turn the ball over 5 times, however, but as a team, once again, just like the Knicks game, we were pretty low turnover with just 10 in the game. So that's something that's been really good from the other guys outside of James Harden. Granted, he handles the ball so much more than everybody else and takes way more risks with his passing because he can make passes that other people on the team can't make. But everybody else has done a really good job keeping their turnover number low. But James Harden, continues to lead by example in this stretch. And I talked about in the last episode how this was around the time where he started dipping for real last year. And I thought, the way he's playing right now, he's actually, the last 3 games, played some of his best ball of the season, responding from the Laker games and that Phoenix game. The way he ended that game was no good. But James looked, a little bit gassed towards the end of that first quarter because he was playing all of it. And that small ball lineup, when we take Zoo out, it really forces isolation basketball. And it's James, it's Bogey, it's Kawhi, and it's Zoo who are our ISO players without Norm. You take Zoo and Kawhi out of the lineup, it just becomes Bogey or Harden. It puts a lot of pressure on them. And I thought that was actually one of our rougher stretches of the game, where it was that end of the first quarter. But as far as James, he made some huge shots towards the end of the game. Obviously, the floater on Keon Ellis to tie it. But even before that, we were down by 7 points with 1:50 left. We got to talk about the resilience of this team. DeRozan was getting hot. They went on a 16-7 run to go up by 7 with 1:50 left. And Kawhi started out the party with the N1. Then we got the offensive foul, I believe, on Jonas Valanciunas. Harden then had a pick and roll with Zoo where he fed him, and we cut it down to 3. And yeah, I believe was it Derrick Jones Jr. who made that 3 late in the game? I think it was. Let me just double check. No, my bad. Kawhi Leonard and 1. Zubac's dunk off the James Harden assist. And then we tied the game with the James Harden floater. I don't know why I thought Derrick Jones, because Derrick Jones Jr. did shoot well from 3, and he made a 3 in the fourth quarter to put us up 77-75. I'm sorry. I was thinking of the 3 that gave us the 107-104 lead in overtime with Derrick. He was so good. But yeah, James Harden, huge plays, the pick and roll pass to Zoo and the floater to tie the game and the go-ahead floater in overtime before DeRozan got those free throws. He was just spectacular. For me, the player of the game, and he did it in the beginning of the overtime too. He put us in the position for Kawhi Leonard to do that. And, the fact that he didn't get that last shot and was rewarded with the win, despite the fact that he wasn't the one that made the game winner, I think is great and shows, I don't want to say sacrifice because I don't know if I don't know what the discussion was in the huddle there, where if Harden was to say, come on, Harden's not the type of person that, with how he seems to vibe with Kawhi, that he's going to be like, nah, coach, I'm the one that's hot, give me the ball. It's Kawhi Leonard. He's proven, he's stamped, even with the way he's been playing in the game. So it just seems like James and Kawhi's synergy, since the moment James came, has been really good. But James Harden, my takeaway from this is this: Harden was our player of the game for me, but if he's our best player, is that a good thing for us? But coming up, going to be talking about the double streak of Ivica Zubac and the general other points of the game that were important in my opinion. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get March Madness is here, and FanDuel's giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. And here in LA, we've got UCLA women and USC women who've got a really good chance to do that. I'm keeping my eye on that. I'm honestly just as excited for the women's tournament as I am the men's, if not more. And where can you go to do all this stuff? Well, it's not just NCAA basketball. The NBA, obviously, you can always place bets on FanDuel for that. Right now, the NBA Finals odds, it's Oklahoma City Thunder leading them with the Boston Celtics behind them, and then the Cleveland Cavaliers in third. And as far as NCAA basketball, in order to the national champion favorite is Duke right now, plus 330, with Auburn right behind them. So head on over to FanDuel.com to place your bets today and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. That's FanDuel.com. All right, so the Clippers winning this one 110-111. We shot 53% from the field in this one, which was great. They shot 46%. We shot 32.3% from three, so not a great three-point shooting game. And they shot 26.5% from three. They shot 84% from the free throw line. This is where I was disappointed in us. We shot just 60% from the free throw line, 15 for 25. Kawhi, 2 for 4. Zoo, 4 for 8. Harden, 6 for 8. And Derrick Jones Jr., 1 for 3. So not very good. As far as our defensive matchups, Chris Dunn was on Zach LaVine. By the way, another game that Chris Dunn registered over 20-plus minutes, but he did not close the game, and I think a lot of that was, the shot making, and he was 0 for 4 from 3, so they didn't want another repeat of the Phoenix game or the Laker game where he's getting shots late and he's not hitting them. 4 points for him, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, and just 1 turnover. On 2 for 7 shooting and 0 for 4 from 3. In 27 minutes. So again, we just need Chris Dunn to play every game and play 20-plus minutes so we can get on that all-defensive team. You know who else was really good? Nico Batum, who continues to shoot absolutely lights out from 3 when he's a starter. It's very interesting. Very interesting. But, he has been hitting lately. 3 for 3 in this one from deep. And of course, all his shots were threes. 9 points, 4 rebounds, 1 block. Last game, he was 6 for 9 from 3. The previous game, 1 for 1. So on this homestand, he shot 10 for 13 from 3. I've been saying more Nico minutes. And I thought at times he was a little slow to react, rebounding wise on defense, but it's not like he's playing bad defense. You know what I'm saying? 28 minutes for Nico. Great to see him hit. Zubac, he was the guy that had us scoring in the beginning when Kawhi wasn't hitting. And again, it was in that short roll. It was throwing down to him in the post. He and Jonas Valanciunas having a nice little battle. So just really great stuff from Zoo. His 8th straight double-double. The only criticism I have of Zoo was it seemed like a lot of guys were finishing around him at the basket, which is not normal. I don't know if his timing was off or there was just really great finishing from Zach LaVine and other guys on the Kings. But, overall, just another awesome performance by that guy. Where will we be without him? I don't know. 22 and 14 for Big Zoo. 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. He is processing things a lot quicker, and that's really great. He was 9 for 14 from the field. And as I said, the free throws, that's not good enough. But, he's been a little bit better about that lately. So just got to hope. Yeah, has he? Yeah, he has. This month he's shooting 69%, which is And last month he shot 81%. So yeah, he actually has been shooting a lot better from the line. It wasn't just, man, even in January, 79%. It's just that he was 45.5% in December and 50% in November. Jeez. But that's the thing with Zoo, though. He seems to always improve on things. And how about his season stats now? 16 and 12 and a half. Like, come on, son. He is just, man, I love that guy. Favorite player on the team. You know who else was pretty good in this game? Bogey offensively, but defensively, he could not stay in front of anyone in the first half. He really was kind of getting picked on, I can't lie, from a one-on-one situation from guys like Zach LaVine to Devin Carter, who, by the way, I did not know that was Anthony Carter's son. That's wild. How is it? These players that I watched growing up are having kids in the league now. It's just wild. But you know how Kawhi got some easy buckets, by the way, was 2 buckets in transition. When the Kings, because in the first quarter they were winning 23-20. We weren't scoring much in the first quarter, especially when we went to that small ball lineup and it was all ISOs. We couldn't get very good shots. It was just contested shots. Second quarter, we outscored them 31-26, and Kawhi got a couple of easy buckets when we started to get stops and he was running the floor hard. James Harden found him with those over-the-top, beautiful outlet passes that he has the ability of making so consistently, and he got a couple of buckets there. So that was nice. It's just the 3-ball really was hurting him. He was 6 for 12 from 2, Kawhi Leonard. So that's a good sign as far as the 50% from 2. But yeah, it was really great to see Nico Batum still hitting threes. You know what I thought was also a rough patch for us that needs to be talked about is our offense against zone in the third quarter. We only scored 21 points in the third quarter. We got outscored 26-21. And we also had a hard time guarding Zach LaVine. But we never had a good stretch offensively throughout the game. I do not understand why teams in the NBA, when there's more shooting on the floor than ever before, struggle against zone so much. But I actually do know why. Because, you see, the NBA nowadays, and I think it's just because of how players are wired, and it's because, to me, it's the root of it all is statistical infatuation and credit. But a lot of times the great moments of ball movement in today's NBA are from a drive and kick situation or a pick and roll situation where an advantage is created and then you're swinging. Unless, I will say though, teams like the Golden State Warriors in their prime are like what I'm about to describe. And honestly, Golden State, I just haven't watched their games now to say now, but you know, the motion teams still have these kinds of things where I thought Indiana actually incorporated some of this last season. And I think Cleveland has been doing more of it this season. But just sometimes you got to swing without putting the ball on the floor. You know what I'm saying? Zip it. I really preach this as like a coach for kids. Obviously, I don't have the talent level of NBA, but you know, it's relative. It just, to me, at any level, imagine when you have the defense moving against NBA players, though. It's just, what happens is teams go zone, and then NBA players and NBA teams still run their same pick and roll offense or just trying to drive into the seams without moving the ball to both sides and really rotating the defense. And especially the biggest flaw in all of it is nobody goes to the high post of the zone. And when they do go to the high post of the zone, they're very uncomfortable catching and turning from the middle of the floor, except for the guys like a Şengün or Jokic or Zoo who have that one-handed push shot. Seems like everybody else is too awkward to take a catch and shoot mid-range. Because I know we're not practicing this. That's not a thing that's preached in the NBA. Nobody wants catch and shoot mid-ranges analytically. But it's a major flaw in the zones. You can't beat zones consistently without a guy in the middle of the floor. Or else you're just going to keep swinging around the perimeter and getting open threes at best case. And then maybe you attack a closeout. I just think against NBA players, that might not be good enough. You're going to need somebody in the middle of the floor. And who's comfortable on the Clippers in the middle of the floor? Zoo or Kawhi? Besides that, nobody. Nico Batum catching in the middle of the floor and turning from the foul line, I don't think he's going to make the shot very consistently. I feel like he's too prone to shooting catch and shoot threes now. It's a real problem around the league. No one wants to talk about these things. I notice it because, I don't know, because I notice it. It's a joke. How can you have an era with the most shooting ever and they struggle against zones? Zones are cupcake. You should see how my teams eviscerate zone at every level. I'm serious. It's not rocket science. You just got to have a guy in the high post and swing the ball all the way around. If you look at the NBA, when teams break zones, they do the same stuff I'm talking about. They do. Our best bet is to have Zoo in the high post because he has that push shot, and then Derrick Jones Jr. running baseline. But Why isn't it second nature, though, is my issue. Why does it take several possessions and it's not about coaching. You cannot blame coaching for this. These NBA players have played in AAU. They've played in college, barely for some of them. You played against zones. These aren't even legitimate zones. You know what I'm saying? Jonas Valanciunas cannot camp in the paint. He has to worry about defensive 3 seconds, so he has to pick up the ball when it essentially becomes a one-on-one at the foul line when you get the ball there, which in that case, Kawhi Leonard is better than Ivica Zubac for that situation. But it's insane to me, and I'm only getting passionate and mad about it because it's my own team, but it's a league-wide thing. It's like, how do we not remember? Like, zone is not rocket. These are like 2-3 matchup zones. This is not rocket science, guys. We get so stagnant, it just takes us out of our game as if they've never played against it before. It's insane to me. It's really insane. Catch and shoot at the foul line. It's because it's not practiced, I'm telling you. But the answer for me would be, cool. Honestly, if I'm other NBA teams, I would run a lot more zone against us because it exposes two things about our team. We don't move the ball fast enough. We have James Harden and Kawhi that dribble a lot, and we lack outside shooting. If I were another team, I would do that. I would play a lot more zone against the Clippers because we struggle to swing quickly. And we have Chris Dunn out there a lot. Derrick Jones Jr. can be hit or miss. Clearly, Bogdanovich can be hit or miss. Kawhi Leonard, I mean, he's usually good. James Harden, how willing is he to take threes off the catch? I mean, honestly, I'll just try to focus on taking Zubac away and funnel the shots to everybody else in the zone. That's what I would do if I'm another team. And no one's ever said this to me because it's stupid, but like, imagine if somebody in the comments is like, dude, you're giving the other teams strategies on how to beat us. Like, bruh, you think people from the coaching staff on other teams are listening to me and they don't notice these things? They have stats and a bunch of guys doing it. But that's what I think. That's just me putting on my coach's lens. I would do it because our zone offense looks bad. Zoo, basically, when it all comes down to, Zoo has to save the day on everything for us these days. And which is James Harden to a degree as well. But in terms of what he does on both ends in the rebounds, it's just like it's just crazy what Zoo does. But anyway, great win. Great win. St. James, as Brian Seaman was calling him, with a really solid game. And I also should mention Derrick Jones Jr. He was excellent in this game, finishing strong around the basket, being really aggressive, knocking down his open threes. I mean, he's been awesome this season. I honestly think we've been playing him too little recently. 17 points, 3 rebounds, 1 steal, no turnovers on 7 for 9 shooting, 2 for 3 from deep in 28 minutes. We got some Kobe Brown minutes for 4 of them. It was whatever, 2 points. 1 for 1, nothing bad. Drew Eubanks didn't play in this game. Amir Coffey just bricked some shots, took 1 or 2 tough ones that were unnecessary. 2 points, 1 for 4 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3 in 27 minutes. But I will give Amir Coffey this. Huge defensive stop on, I believe it was DeRozan late in the game that got us a chance to tie it with Harden. So that was a really big play. And also Bogdanovich I wanted to give a shout out to. By the way, our defensive rotations in overtime, when we doubled DeMar, were really good. When we forced that shot clock violation, that was amazing. But Bogdanovich, 9 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 turnover on 3 for 5 shooting, 1 for 1 from deep, and 2 for 2 from the foul line. I think Bogey has had a really nice stretch here in this homestand, and hopefully he can carry it on. Our next game is going to be, and by the way, we're 35-29 now. And as far as what the standings look like with 18 games remaining, we are in 8th place. We are now a game and a half above the Kings, which is nice. The Minnesota Timberwolves have the same amount of losses as us, but they have 2 more wins. They're 37-29. Golden State is 36-28. So it's going to be a battle. I think Dallas is going to start falling off. They've lost 5 straight games now. So I don't think we're going to be 10th. We're going to be flirting with 8 and 9. Oh, my God. Imagine if we play the Thunder in the first round. That would be just brutal losing to them after all this. But whatever. Let's just get there first, huh? You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper, LA sports content. And Locked On Clippers, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. And the Locked On Clippers newsletter is available at LockedOnDaily.com. Thank you all. And sorry for the late post again. I was, championship feel, celebrations, all that stuff. So I'm sorry about that. I will be making. Actually, so I have some news. Actually, my parents and I'm gonna be moving back home with my parents in a couple of weeks. So I will have my own room. I can stay up late. I can release Locked On Clippers for the morning for all of you. So I'm so sorry about what this has been. And then probably settle in with them for a couple of months, and then back to the adult life of trying to move out in LA with all this freaking price gouging. But anyway, the age-old proverb continues: Go Clippers.